Given the expertise around the table, I'd like to focus on the economic potential of the bill, specifically around business. So, given that the majority of the authorities listed in the schedule of the bill are so-called public authorities or public services, public bodies, government departments, etc., very little is mentioned of the private sector, for example, utilities companies, telecommunications businesses, and so on, of which have a substantial part to play. And it follows on from what Stuart said. Does island proofing, as it's currently written in the bill, actually address any of the economic issues? The very first body listed in terms of the duties in relation to the bill is the Scottish administration, and number one is Scottish ministers. And one would assume that by Scottish ministers that also meant their relevant executive agencies, directorates, and so on. However, that's possibly a question we can ask the bill team when they come in. That may cover all the relevant public bodies which cover roads, etc. David, you mentioned something earlier in the session around that whilst there are similarities between the problems that businesses face in rural communities and on islands, and we've heard a lot about those similarities, but you said you had done some work on the specific differences as well, and that's something we haven't sort of teased out of you. So is there anything you could share on that? You have a unique opportunity. Each of the panel members are part of an agency who will be directly affected and will have to produce these island impact assessments when the bill goes live. So I'm very keen to sort of draw out of you what you feel this bill places on you in terms of the onus to produce these impact assessments. As it stands, it applies to the development, delivery and redevelopment of any policy, strategy or services that your agency performs, the effect that has on an island community, and what can be done to improve or mitigate that decision. And that could be any area of policy or service that you provide. So it's very all-encompassing. Specifically on health, how are you going to produce these island impact assessments for every decision that you make to justify that decision, to look at the effect that will have, potential effect it will have on an island? And then what happens next once you've produced that assessment? Does it you just present it back to the minister and say, well, this is the effect this will have on an island, but nothing actually happens to mitigate the effect that change may make? So what are the practicalities around these island impact assessments, and how can they actually improve life on an island?